Jerome's laboratory was empty, which was immediately irritating. Gerard stood in the doorway for a moment, confirmed that no one was inside, and entered anyway. He did not have the luxury of waiting. The medication had run out this morning, a miscalculation he intended to discuss with Jerome at length, and he needed the next vial today. The experiments had been Jerome's idea, technically, but Gerard had agreed to them without much deliberation. The work was simple in concept, a biological treatment, administered consistently over time, intended to reduce the likelihood that any future child of his would inherit the particular suffering that had defined the first years of his own life. If it could be done, it would be done. He had not told Marin about it. There was nothing to tell yet, only the quiet, private work of trying to give something better to someone who did not yet exist. He crossed to Jerome's desk. The usual chaos, stacked documents, scattered instruments, 3 separate projects apparently happening simultaneously in the same square meter. And there, beside the papers, 2 vials. One red. One blue. Gerard picked up the blue one without hesitation. Jerome always gave him the blue. They were identical, same shape, same size, same faint luminescence. He uncorked it and drank it in one motion and set the empty vial back on the desk. The effect was immediate. His eye level dropped. He looked down. His hand was smaller. His sleeve hung past his wrist. The floor was farther away than it should have been, and coming closer, and he was still shrinking, and his trousers were sliding off his hips with the slow inevitability of a natural disaster. He grabbed them with both hands. "What," he said, in a voice that emerged soft and high and nothing like his own, "is this?" He stood in Jerome's laboratory, child-sized, holding up his own trousers, and stared at the empty blue vial on the desk. "I will kill him," he said, in that same small, clear, entirely undignified voice. He had to dig through Jerome's wardrobe for clothes, a set Jerome apparently kept for exactly this contingency, which meant this had happened before, which was information Gerard filed away under future consequences, and dressed himself with the tight efficiency of a man operating under controlled fury. The clothes fit reasonably. His dignity did not survive the process. He kicked the laboratory door on the way out. It swung open a polite few inches and stopped. Gerard stood in the corridor and breathed through his nose. Jerome would not be back until evening. Olive had confirmed this, received the instruction to summon Jerome the moment he returned, and then spent approximately 45 seconds biting the inside of his cheek while Gerard explained the situation in a low, precise, childishly voiced summary of what had happened and what would happen to Jerome when he arrived home. "The hat," Gerard said. Olive handed him the wide-brimmed decorative hat from the wall without comment. It was very large. On Gerard's current head, it covered everything down to his jaw. "No one enters my office. Especially not Marin." "Understood, Your Grace." "Don't call me that right now." A pause. "Yes." Gerard turned and pushed at the door again. It moved 2 inches. He pushed harder. 3 inches. A sound escaped Olive that was almost entirely suppressed. "Almost." "Go away," Gerard said, with great feeling, and hit the door at the hinge side. It opened. He left. Olive sat down heavily in his chair and pressed both hands over his mouth, shoulders shaking, and thought about the fact that Jerome had taken the vision recording orb with him to the research site, and this was a genuine tragedy. Gerard moved along the wall. Without the full strength of his ability, the world was noisier and less legible than he was accustomed to. Footsteps arrived with less warning, voices were less distinct. The layered information he normally processed without effort had been reduced to something ordinary and insufficient. He moved carefully, hat pulled low, checking each corridor. Before he committed to it, he would genuinely rather die than be seen. The passage to his office was almost clear. He quickened his steps, which were shorter than they should have been, which was its own indignity, and had nearly reached the door when he heard a voice directly behind him. A voice he recognized immediately, precisely because it was the voice he least wanted to hear. Oh, goodness. Hello. Gerard stopped. His shoulders pulled in. He did not turn. Little one? He turned slowly, the hat pulled as far down as it would go. Through the gap at the brim he could see Marin, her face, her expression, the particular quality of concern that she deployed when she encountered something she wanted to fix. She was crouching slightly to be at his level, which made it worse. Are you lost? He shook his head once, sharply. Do you know where you're going? He nodded, also sharply. Where are your parents? Are they nearby? He shook his head. He kept his mouth closed. His voice would betray him the moment he used it, and he had no intention of using it. Marin studied the child in front of her, the rigid posture, the hat pulled aggressively low, the refusal to look up, the small hands gripping the brim. Something in her expression shifted into the gentle, careful register she used when she suspected someone was frightened. You don't have to be afraid, she said. I'm the lady of this house. No one here will hurt you. He looked at her through the gap. She was looking at him with absolute sincerity, the way she looked at everything she was determined to help whether it wanted helping or not. He gave a single, dignified nod. If you keep going that way, Marin said, pointing ahead with the air of someone delivering genuinely useful information, you'll reach the Duke's rooms. There's rather a formidable person in that direction. She paused. Not truly formidable. He seems that way at first, but she appeared to search for the word, very kind, once you know him. He's simply quiet. A smaller pause. And occasionally alarming. But he means well. Gerard stood very still. Come with me instead, Marin said, extending her hand. We'll find somewhere comfortable, and you can wait until we sort out where you belong. He looked at her hand. He looked at his own, which was small and soft and entirely the wrong size. He did not want to hold her hand like this. He did not want her kindness directed at him in this form, spoken in this voice, with this expression, as though he were a child to be taken care of. He found the prospect actively insufferable. He took her hand. It was warm, the way her hands always were, and she held his carefully, and he walked beside her across the garden. With his hat pulled down and his jaw set, and said nothing. The garden table had been set with things children apparently liked, which turned out to include macarons, which Gerard ate because there was nothing else to do and he was, obscurely, hungry. He ate slowly, in small bites, keeping his face angled away. Marin sat across from him and did not stare, which he noted. She kept her eyes on the middle distance, letting him exist without the pressure of being observed. He watched her from beneath the hat. After a while, her gaze drifted to a maid crossing the far end of the garden, a woman heavily pregnant, moving with the careful balance of someone in the final months. Marin looked at her and kept looking, in the way of someone who has had a thought they did not intend to have. The expression was unguarded. Just for a moment. Don't worry, he said, before he could stop himself. Marin startled and turned. He tucked his face further into the hat, aware that his voice, even diminished, had been recognizable to her. She had heard it for too long not to find it familiar. It showed, she said, after a moment. He nodded, once. I suppose it did. She was quiet for a moment, her hands folding in her lap. Then, with the care of someone deciding to be honest, I want to be a mother. Soon, I hope. To someone, small and troublesome and worth it. She smiled, not at him, at the thought itself. Like you, maybe. The tips of his ears went warm. He was grateful for the hat. Then the wind came, a single decisive gust, and the hat left his head. He lunged for it. Marin was faster. She caught it, turned, and held it out to him with a smile already forming. He took it quickly and pulled it back on. But not quickly enough. Marin looked at him. He looked at the ground. The silence had a quality to it, the quality of a silence in which someone is reassembling information. She had seen his face. The gray eyes, the nose, the particular architecture of features that would, in 20 years or so, be the exact face she already knew. She said nothing. He said nothing. A bird crossed the garden. Somewhere inside the castle, a door closed. Gerard sat under his hat and ate the rest of his macaron with tremendous composure, and Marin looked at the middle distance again with an expression that was very carefully not a smile.